Hello, I'm Bruce Horak, and this is the 10th episode of Soul of the Story. Derek,
Hi, I am your host, Derek Tyler Attico. Thank you for coming to Soul of the Story, Bruce Horak. This is the 10th episode. This is book
yes.
two, chapter five of Soul of the Story. Thank you so much, sir, for being here. It is
Uh,
a privilege and an honor to have you on. How are you doing today?
I'm so good, Derek. Thank you for asking. I've been binging your show this morning in
Oh,
preparation to be chatting with you today, and yeah, it's what a treat. For those people out there who are just tuning in, I really recommend going back and looking at this is book two, so check
this
out
is
book one. Go back to the beginning of the story.
right, right. Thank you so much for that. I
But
appreciate
hey,
it.
I such a pleasure. Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna get right into it. There's a lot of things I wanted
Okay.
to discuss with you. But my first question to you is going to be, when did you first know? At what age did you first know, or did you first feel a spark of creativity? Whether it be because writing, acting, painting. When did you first have that first spark of
Mhm.
creativity?
Oh, wow, that's a good question. I first felt that spark, I think. First memory of it. I mean, I was a toddler playing with Crayola markers on a big old sketch pad and sitting with my brothers. I have three older brothers, and my parents used to. They were very thrifty people, and we would go to garage sales every weekend. And they came back one weekend with a bag of Lego, a
Oh,
massive bag, and it was just bricks, and they'd found it at a garage sale for nickels or something. And my brothers and I used to play with that Lego and sculpt with it and build rocket ships. And my dad was a big sci-fi nerd, so we had he had old movie posters from like the old sci-fi movies and Star Trek comic books and things. So we would build our own spaceships. And I remember once we tried to build like a Death Star out of the old Lego bricks, the 2x4 kind of situation. Yeah, so that I mean, growing up in that family, especially, we were just a very creative bunch. There was music all the time. There was
oh wow.
drawing. There was playing with Lego and a very creative upbringing. I had that in my family.
Wow,
Mhm.
wow, that's amazing. And I should tell you that I have also been binging Bruce Horak in the last
Oh,
few days, which has been an absolute delight to me. So you are, sir, an accomplished actor of screen and stage, right? You
thank
are
you.
a painter, you're a musician, and I think I heard or read somewhere writer as well,
Yes,
which is
yes.
phenomenal. All of those are just
Thank
phenomenal.
you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
absolutely. So okay, so you're a kid and and your family is encouraging your creativity with these Legos.
Mhm.
When did you first move out of that? 'Cause I think we all have that, right? Just as human beings, we have some kind of creative
Mhm.
instinct in us, right? That we try
Yeah.
something's in us. We need to push it out and show something of ourselves to the world. But when did you want to go beyond that and maybe move into like this as a profession?
Well, it was always a dream of mine to have my creative outlet be my source of income.
Mm.
That was the dream. Certainly in high school, my buddy and I, we were in like grade 10 or something. We used to like skip class on Friday afternoon and go downtown Calgary, and we'd stand on the street corner and sing together. He had a
Wow.
great ear for harmony, so the two of us would go busking on Friday afternoon. We would get just the lunch rush of people walking by, the business guys having their lunch out on the mall, and they would throw us this was pre Metal One. here in Canada, we have what's called the loonie, which is our $1 coin. We used to just, get paper money, and it'd be
Right.
our weekend spending. And that dream was kind of like, oh yeah, like what does this mean? Like touring and playing music and actually living this way. And Rich and I still to this day, when I go back to Calgary, we just pick up a couple of guitars and go to the market and play.
Oh,
And
wow.
it's just yeah, it's just how I love to spend my time. And if it can be a source of income and I can actually pay my bills with it, amazing. Right.
Right, right,
So
right.
there's the pursuit of that work from a very young age, and it's just been kind of a constant thread for me.
That's
Mm.
amazing. That's amazing. And to go to me that takes a lot of heart to go out and do that because here in New York we have street musicians and artists, of course, all the time.
Mhm. Oh
Um,
yeah.
but I think it's an amazing point of bravery to just go and do that. Um, so
Yeah, bravery.
bravery, right? It
Definitely.
takes
Yeah.
a
Well,
level
that's
of
just it, Derek. The big part about going busking for me was my dream was, oh, I want to do this by myself, but I'm visually impaired. I have 9% vision, so security, personal security when you're playing an instrument on the street is a factor. And
sure.
so I would go with Rich because A, he's got 20/20 vision, but he was also kind of a bit of a
Oh,
beefier guy,
right, right,
could
right, right.
hold his own, and he knew how to deal with the people who are going by. And 90% of it was great, but there's a
Hmm.
couple that they're gonna try to grab your money or whatever. And Rich was
Sure,
able to,
sure.
so that's why I certainly felt a lot better going out. And yeah, it's tough for me to go out on my own and busk these days, but it's always a great fallback if you can get a group together and work, because yeah, safety in numbers, right?
Right, right,
Yeah,
right. Of course,
yeah.
safety in numbers. And you did mention that you're visually impaired,
Mhm.
and I know society doesn't always um think about those that have challenges. I myself have an artificial hip, and I know society doesn't always think about that. They think about the majority, not those that are challenged. Um,
Mhm.
and f- my question to you is you have that challenge, but that has never stopped you. Has there been a point within yourself where you said, "This is a thing I have, and I'm just going to keep on going and do every single thing that I want to do in my life"?
Wow. That is a question that I still to this day wrestle with. I think it's
Wow.
something, uh, yeah, I'm, you know, oftentimes my disability is invisible. People will make assumptions about what I can see,
Hmm.
um, and that can be a real challenge. And constantly coming back and going, I can't do that. I can actually can't see that, or and the limitations that I place on myself oftentimes misinterpreted by the limitations others have put on me. So there's this kind of constant dialogue around, what is the truth of this? Can I actually do that thing? And I won't know until I actually try it and fail at it a few times and figure it out. A anecdote, a story from when I was about 12 or 13 years old, I thought, wouldn't it be great if I could learn to juggle? Now, because I've only got one eye, I don't see three dimensions. So catching the ball is really tricky for me.
Sure.
Takes me having to move my head around and figure out the size of it. And I got a book called The Klutz Guide to Juggling. It came with three bean bags and walked me through step by step how to do this. And I failed at it for a while, like the sound of that beanbag hitting the chair. I'm sure people downstairs are like, "What is that kid doing?" Uh, just stand over a bed or something. But over the course of a year or so, I got to the point where I could do this thing that all logic said a guy with 9% vision who looks like I see like looking down a straw.
Okay.
That logic says that I shouldn't be able to juggle. And yet with practice and figuring it out and adapting for my own way of doing it, I realize it's really about the throws.
Right.
So if I throw it consistently, I know exactly where the thing's going to come down. Point where I could do it with a blindfold on. And uh, surprising myself even in this task. And when I auditioned for Star Trek, I had a little bit in the Zoom audition where I actually juggled at the end just to go, hey, Hammer could do this. Of course he could. But that's again, play with that perception of how people might see me and how I see myself and challenge it, right? The
Right.
documentary is called Boldly Going, and it's about making those choices and being bold for it. Like step a little bit outside of your comfort zone because that's where the adventure is.
That's exactly right. That's a beautiful story. Thank you so much.
My
And you're
pleasure.
absolutely right. It's about boldly going, and let's skip it. We'll skip around. So let's talk a little bit
Sure.
about your documentary because as I understand it, your documentary is basically about. Well, you know what? Why am I talking about it? Let's ask you. Um, tell us, I'm just excited to talk to you, but to
I love it.
tell us about your documentary, how it started,
Mm.
how the idea of it started, and where it's going right now.
Well, Boldly Going is a documentary that will follow me as I hopefully complete my quest to paint 1,000 portraits.
Right,
And I'm currently sitting at portrait number 750, and I'm on my way to completing this goal. I started painting portraits in an attempt to capture the way that I see. So I started this project in 2010 or so, doing one-on-one portrait sittings. And I would just really try to affect in acrylic on canvas how I see. And then eventually this project evolved into doing full showings in galleries. So 200 8 by 10 portraits all in a grid on a wall. And then I took it a little step further and I started doing a one-person show where I would paint a portrait of the entire audience while I told the story of how I became a visually impaired visual artist, and I would solve the mystery of who killed Tom Thompson, who was a
right.
very famous Canadian painter. And the next obvious step in this project is to document that kind of final move towards the finish line. And I'm hoping with Boldly Going to sit with other people, other creatives who have overcome adversity and to ask them those important questions like, was there a spark? What was the spark that led you to this? And, was there ever a moment where you questioned what you were doing and what the purpose of it and the larger meaning? And hopefully with answers like that, get to the heart of the inspiration that moves not only people with disabilities, but creatives forward you know um I have
Absolutely.
found in the 750 portraits that I've done so far that I'm incredibly inspired by these other people that I've sat with, and I'm hoping the documentary is a way to continue to spread that message and inspire other creatives.
I'm really excited for your documentary.
Well, thanks.
I really am because well your portraits are amazing. Just
Thank you.
start there. Your portraits are amazing. I'm excited. You also you do self portraits every couple of hundred. Is that correct?
Every
Every
hundred,
hundred,
yeah.
right? You do a
Hmm.
self portrait.
Yeah.
You've done people that we know. You've done William Shatner.
Mm,
This is a really interesting. This is definitely going to be a really interesting documentary and
thank you.
a way for people, I think, to key in to your life and your experiences and to actually see things from your perspective, which I think is really beautiful. So
Thank you.
I
Thanks, Derek.
wholeheartedly encourage, absolutely, I encourage everyone and we'll put a link in the show notes for
Oh,
the
great.
for
For the
absolutely
Indiegogo.
for the
Yeah, thank
Indiegogo,
you.
so that
Thank
people
you.
can go to this and support your documentary, which I think is
Appreciate it.
amazing. Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow. Thank
And
you.
just speaking to you now, so let's stay with art for a moment. Um, when did you decide that you wanted to start painting? How did that come about?
Believe me, the absurdity of a blind man painting is not lost. I totally get that. It does seem a bit ridiculous, but
No, it seems incredible. It's that
appreciate it.
courage and bravery that we're talking about.
Well, yeah, it was just a part of growing up. My brothers and I were all very creative people, and there was never a discouraging word. Well, we were all four boys, so there was definitely some jostling for superiority, but we're all in the art. arts, and I okay, so here's kind of an abridged version of this story, which
Okay.
was that in
Okay.
high school I was taking music and art and drama, all
Mm,
these options. And as I got towards grade 12, I had to stop, I had to cut away some of my options, and I was down to drama and art class. And I said to my teacher, like, what do you think of this? And she very wisely said, I don't think there's really going to be room for you in post high school. Like, I can't think of an academic institution that would teach a blind man how to be a visual artist.
right.
And she said, it's going to be a big struggle, so maybe consider drama. And in drama, my teacher was like, well, it's all about faking it. And you fake it pretty well. I'd been learning since I was a kid, like how to fake being sighted. So she's like, you fake it great. Like I see you all the time and I think, hey, that guy can see me or whatever. So get into that field. And yeah, I've just kind of been I've been faking it ever since, Derek.
But that's so great because I think that's what we all fake it
Oh
some
yeah,
level. I don't care where you
absolutely.
are on the journey of life,
Hmm.
from Academy Awards to to whoever, everybody's
Yep.
faking something on some level.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think that's a uniter because we can all identify with that. We can all identify with the faking. That's amazing. Um it really is. And speaking of the acting, I upon my research of you, I saw that you've done some stage work.
Hmm.
And one of the things that really stuck out to me, which I thought was really incredible, was Goblin Macbeth.
Aha. Yes.
Can you speak a little bit about that? Because you're in
Yes.
full makeup as a goblin, and it looks
They're,
incredible.
don't they? Oh my goodness. Yeah, they're actually they're latex masks, or sorry, silicone masks that
Okay.
go, they're like bibs down to here, a full
Right.
head covering,
Oh.
and then the lips kind of poke in, so it's our lips and our eyes, but everything else is covered. And yeah, the Goblin Empire is being built as we speak. The first show was about 2.5 years ago, premiered, and it's three goblins, Cragva, Wug, and Moog, and they have discovered the complete works of William Shakespeare and decide to try theater for the first time. And they take over a theater and they do Goblin Macbeth, and Cragva and Wug
Wow.
play all the characters, kind of jump back and forth, and Moog has this kind of crazy setup at the back with all the instruments, and he does the sound escape as we do Macbeth. And it's short, it's about 90 minutes, and it's really bloody and very funny. The goblins make fun of humans and theater and storytelling and all of it. And now they have taken over another theater in October and they're presenting Goblin Oedipus. So they're going back into Greek tragedy to really figure out what humans find so funny about leadership or something. I don't know. It's
It's
another great goblin exploration. Yeah, we have a great time. They improvise a bit with the audience, and they're a lot of fun to play. I love working in prosthetics. I love mask work, disappearing into other faces, and Hammer is a great example of that. I just love getting behind the prosthetics and being this other person. And I play Wug, who yeah, he's kind of an arrogant jerk. I wonder who that's a bit like. I might be typecast, but he's lovable on the inside.
it's a
Yes, goblins.
yeah, it's amazing watching that, and I encourage everyone to take a look at that. Or you can find them on YouTube, and I think on your website as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Goblins are everywhere.
goblins are everywhere, right? And just take a look. It's just amazing work. So this is interesting because we see that you're working in latex and makeup. Hammer was not your first, but now
Mhm.
transitioning to that, can you talk a little bit about how you got the gig for Star Trek: Strange New Worlds and the character of Hammer, and are you a fan of Star Trek outside of that?
Oh, very much so. To answer your last question first, I'm a huge fan of Star Trek. I'm going back to when I was a kid.
Oh wow.
Uh, and during the pandemic, I was in lockdown in Stratford, Ontario, which is just about 90 minutes outside of Toronto. And the call went out for a visually impaired actor to play a blind alien. And my agent and I kind of looked at each other and said, perfect. And it was a new Star Trek. And I got even more excited. And I did a number of auditions. Finally, moved kind of my way up and met Henry Alonso Myers. He and I had a really great chat about about the character, about what Hemmer was going to be like, and the meaning that he was going to bring to the series,
Mhm.
helping Uhura see that this was her place on the Enterprise, and to kind of choose family. And then the next thing I knew, I was rocketed off into space and getting
Wow.
to play Hemmer. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah, it
that's
was,
amazing. That's amazing. Now,
yeah.
now,
Thank you.
on Star Trek, there have been other blind characters on the original series. Of course, Geordie LaForge on
Mm,
Next Gen. But this is the first time that we have a legally blind actor playing a blind character, and that level of
mhm,
authenticity, I think, is very interesting. And I also think it's something that Gene Roddenberry himself would have applauded, because I think that was kind of the thing that he wanted to push forward in the
mm.
idea of Star Trek. So can you speak a little bit to that?
Absolutely. I think you're 100% correct in the supposition that Roddenberry would be pleased with this. I think all the stuff that I've read of him, I mean, the Roddenberry archives is now online, and a lot of what, yeah, just the direction that he saw humanity going. I feel really, yeah, honored. I don't know, maybe that's a word I've used too much, but to get to actually represent that. The folks that have reached out to me since Hammer was announced, even before people saw him on screen, people who have reached out to me in the disability community who've said, finally, and we're with you, and just the support. And I mean, it's been said a million times, but Star Trek fans are the best. Like there is so much love in this
Mhm.
community, and I feel deeply honored to be a part of it. And yeah, I applaud the next one who comes along. I think it's great. Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. Now you're playing an Anar, Enar,
yes,
right? Which
yes,
is
yeah.
an Andorian, but these are like a very cool, very little known subset, I guess you could say, of the
Hmm.
Andorian species that we first discovered in Enterprise, where
Yes.
they're telepathic and they are also blind. So I will admit that when I first saw Hammer on screen, I thought it was a beautiful character. The fact that he was chief engineer, but I had no idea that it was being played by an actor that was legally blind. I just thought it was the
Hmm.
same thing they did with LeVar Burton playing Geordie LaForge. So
Right.
what you do is incredible. Can you talk a little bit about the makeup and how you get into character, and how you actually, do you block it out? Do you figure out where you're going to be in the scenes? Can you talk a little bit about that, please?
Absolutely. Well, with the makeup for Hammer, it was a process of about 3.5 hours. And initially, what they were going to do was put contact lenses in my eyes that would wipe them out. And because of the damage that I've had done with my eyes, they decided not to mess with it, which was great. And they did all of Hammer's eye effects in post, which is a very laborious process, but they were able to give that look to him. And what it did mean, of course, is that I couldn't wear my glasses or a contact lens or anything while I was on set. So I was really playing at the lower end of my visual acuity while I was shooting the show. So I would get up in the morning and take my glasses off kind of at the beginning of the day, and I wouldn't put them on again until 15 hours later. So I was really working low vision. So I had my mobility cane with me on set, but the production provided me with an assistant for the entire day. And there was always somebody who was right with me on my arm, or I was on their arm, or whatever the case may be. But they would be watching for cables and, boom stands and camera equipment. I mean, when the days that we shot on the AR wall, especially, which is this incredible studio full of screens everywhere where they can create an entire universe, basically.
Right.
The equipment that flies around in that place is just the highest tech. So I had safety protocols, thankfully, um, and yeah, it was really quite a ride. The whole experience. And I forgot where I was going with this. I got lost in the AR wall again.
No, no, it's like I've seen that AR wall. It looks crazy. It looks
It
crazy.
really was. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
well, you know what? Let's just talk a little bit about what was it like being a Star Trek fan,
Mm.
being on a Star Trek show. That must have been a little nuts, right?
Oh, yeah. How do you describe it? How do you describe that first moment of walking onto the bridge of the
Oh,
Enterprise?
can't imagine.
And it's the original series
Right.
layout, but the design is just slick and the lights are, God, is unbelievable. First day that I think I did my camera test on the bridge and I was completely starstruck. Like I couldn't say anything. What do I say? Hey, I'm Hammer,
Right, right, right.
I guess. I don't know.
Wow,
Yeah, it
and
was wild. Wild.
it's wild, and you're chief engineer. Um, and it's incredible because we all love the character of Scotty,
Mm,
and not that anyone could replace Scotty, but in a very short amount of time, I think speaking as a fan of this of Star Trek, Hemmer
mm.
became a character, in my opinion, as loved, certainly for me, as loved as Scotty. Um,
Wow.
yeah, absolutely,
Wow.
because there's such dimension and depth to the character from minute
Mm,
one. So,
yeah.
what did you pour into Hemmer? How much is Hemmer is Bruce, and how much of Bruce is Hemmer?
That's a good question. I'm not an engineer, but I have a brother who's an engineer. And so there's a bit of Steve, I think, in Hammer. But oh, it looks like a
No,
frozen.
no,
Oh
we
no.
got you. I got you.
Oh,
Yeah,
oh, you heard? Okay, good, good,
it's
good,
okay.
good. Sorry. Um, I'll go back. I'll say there's a lot of my brother Steve in the character of Hammer, but there is definitely the underlayer, the ground foundation would be I think me, and yeah, and I tried to put a little bit more of a higher status than I tend to walk. But it was interesting when I finally did see the character in the mirror.
Mm.
Actually, no, I took a photo of Hammer and I zoomed it on my iPad so I could actually see it because I didn't have my glasses on the first time I saw him, and I'm like, that's kind of interesting that I can't see this character. Um, but yeah, his face, it just seems so interesting that as soon as I put the mask on and can kind of look in the mirror, the body just took over, and then that ultimately is where the voice came from. I
Mm.
think that's like that's the Coles notes of my outside in work as an actor.
So, Bruce, I want to talk to you a little bit about your acting process. I know for myself, I have used sense memory when it comes to write like emotional scenes or things like that in my writing. Do you use sense memory at all in your acting? And can you talk about like how you approach that and how you attack a scene?
Yeah, if there are instances in the scene where it's called for, I'll definitely go back to a sense of, you know, for instance, like when Hammer broke his arm. I've never broken my arm, but it did break my foot once, and I remember that immediate pain and kind of worked, from that kind of sensation. Um, if you're getting into a situation like in episode 9 where we're being, torn apart by the Gorn,
Right.
but before that actually happens for Hemmer, but all the tension in that, and you've been in those situations in your life where it's like that kind of high stakes. I definitely dig back into that stuff. I like to check in with my breath. I'll start with that and go, where am I breathing in this scene? Is this a relaxed, calm, full breath? Is this a little bit higher and tighter? Is this maybe more in the back? And I find that starting with the breath work, um, that really informs a lot of where I go in a scene.
Oh, okay, okay. Yeah, that's amazing. Breath work, I imagine is crucial for a lot of what you do. When you're doing scenes that are physical, do
Mhm.
you do you like map them out? Do you map out or did your
Oh,
assistant help you to
yeah.
figure out?
Oh yeah, when we were on set, especially walking through the scene a number of times before the camera goes in place, just so I know that I'm not going to run into anything, but also that I can have it be very confident that I'm moving in the space. And you know, it because I practice it so much, it's a bit like learning lines. Like the more you do it, the easier it gets. And so if I'm learning a new bit of blocking every day over the course of a couple of weeks, it's like, oh, I can pick this up really quickly because I'm just getting better at rehearsing that stuff. It's when I slip into a sedentary lifestyle that I'm in trouble.
Man, I'm so sorry that Hammer is gone. Hopefully, the powers that be can bring him back in some capacity, in some way. We already saw that a little bit. Maybe we can see that again. But what I want to speak to you about is that Hammer wasn't your only performance in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. So can you talk a little bit about your other performance in Star Trek: Strange New Worlds?
Sir Can, I got to come back in season two in Subspace Rhapsody as General Garkog, the singing Klingon. And that was a riot. Oh my goodness. Like what a dream. I mean, not only to get to play an Enar, chief engineer, but then to get to come back and be a Klingon.
Right,
Yes. I
a
mean,
Cleon, that's
fully winning.
crazy.
Fully winning. And so much fun that day and getting to sing as well. Yeah, it
And
was
sing
great.
K-pop. Right,
I
K-pop.
know.
Oh, right. That's nuts. That's nuts.
Yeah. We
That's
also did
crazy.
record another version of it as Klingon opera, and somewhere in the universe you can actually see that footage. I haven't seen it myself, but I've heard the word
Oh wow.
Klingon opera.
That's
Yeah.
wow. That's okay. That's amazing. Maybe they'll put that on the Blu-ray or something like that.
There
Hopefully,
you go.
right? Um, okay,
Season
so
two
on the season two,
extras.
right?
Yeah.
Right. Bruce, can you talk a little bit about storytelling? It seems to me that in everything you do, you're telling a story, whether it's art, acting, um, music. So, can you talk a little bit about how you approach tapping into and reaching, connecting with the soul of your story?
Oh, I love it. A number of years ago, I read a book by Joseph Campbell called The Hero with a Thousand Faces.
Yes.
And it's about the monomyth, the universal story. Foundational now, I think, in screenwriting and storytelling in general. But he talks about the hero's journey and he kind of breaks it down into this cyclical thing, and the various stages of it. And I see those stages in my own life, and certainly when I undergo a creative project, I can tell, oh, I'm in the underworld right now, or this is a meeting with the mentor, or you know, fill in the blank. Um, and that goes from the micro to the macrocosm of my own creative path. I hold on to that in my exploration of these projects. I think about what comes next, obviously, which is a tenet of Keith Johnstone, who wrote Impro and Impro for Storytellers. And yeah, I think about what is motivating me to be a creative artist a lot. And I question it a lot. I'm like, where is that coming from? Like, why do I feel the need to, you know, paint a really horrible, nasty looking landscape right now? Or what's driving me to paint a beautiful flower? And I dig around in that quite a bit and question the motivation. And I feel like when I am at peace, when I'm moving forward with curiosity and love into the world, that the work I leave behind me, I'm much more open and willing to share. And there's that cyclical nature of the adventure of I'm putting love into this creative path and I'm going to get it back, I hope.
Okay, well, we're coming down to the last couple of questions here. So I'm thinking, I wanted to ask you about others that are having their own challenges, whether they be physical or otherwise. What advice could you give to those people that are trying to reach in their own creativity and tap into the soul of their own stories? What advice can you give them, Bruce?
Wow. You know, if I could go back and talk to my younger self who was facing those very challenges and the bigger question of how and why should I do these things. It's it takes a bit of courage, and it requires the attitude of boldly going into that adventure. Um, and I found often in the my own artistic experiences is that when I say yes to projects, I have and yes to adventure, that I'm rewarded with that. I'm rewarded with the adventure of that life because I'm saying yes to those things. And when I say no, I'm rewarded with safety. And certainly some things in life that I need safety around, but in the creative act, I think it's much more interesting and brave to say yes.
Absolutely, absolutely. It does take a lot of bravery, as we've seen. I can attest to that. You can attest to that. And just from you, starting from playing on the street as a musician, it takes bravery. But I think you're absolutely right, because if you don't do those things, you don't want to be later on in life saying, "Oh, I could have, I should have." You want to,
Oh
try.
yeah,
Always try, right?
yeah,
Always push forward.
yeah, yeah,
You know, this
yeah.
is this has been a really fantastic conversation. Can we just
Awesome.
remind people about your documentary, where they can
Yeah.
find it, and how they can donate to the creation of the and finalization of the documentary, Bruce?
Thank you. It's Boldly Going Doc, and you can find us on Indiegogo and Boldly Going Documentary. And we're putting out content on the social medias, on Instagram. Boldly Going Doc is there, and Blue Sky and Facebook. But yeah, you can donate to the campaign, and there's lots of tiers. You can all the way up to having a portrait sitting with me as a supporter of the Indiegogo campaign and making this documentary reality. So thank you for letting me have a little of your time today. Appreciate it.
Wow. Wow. Thank you. It has been an amazing, amazing discussion. I appreciate the time that
Thanks,
you
Derek.
spent with me. And I want to thank everyone watching or listening for being a part of the Soul of the Story community. And if you're new, hey, please don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you don't miss any of these incredible conversations with amazing individuals like, for example, Bruce here. And hey, if you've got a brand or project and want to reach a community that truly values authenticity, storytelling, and diverse perspectives, consider sponsoring to the show. Our community enjoys connecting with new voices all of the time. And you can find all the details in the show notes or head over to syfysisters.com/sponsors to learn more. So once again, thank you, and we'll see you next Tuesday at SyFy Sistas Inc. for the live show. You don't want to miss our live shows. Thank you so much, everyone. Take care.